Meeting of the Planning Commission to order this March 4th, 2020. If staff could call roll, please.
Connie Coleman Lackady,
Present.
Don Daniels,
Here.
Chris Guerrero. Here. Nancy Hudson Eccles,
Present.
Pearson.
Here.
Paul Wageman is excused, as well as Christopher Weber is excused. You have quorum.
Great. Before us, we have the minutes of February 19th, 2020. Looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
We have, and Mr. Guerrero seconded it. Any discussion? Changes? Hearing none. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, minutes passed as written. Thank you. Any changes to our agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
No changes to our agenda. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Next on our agenda is public comment. If you're here for the comp plan amendments to speak, I know some of you have signed up, but the public comment at this time is, if you wish to talk about any subject, you're more than welcome. If you're here to talk about the public hearing regarding the comp plan and zoning amendments, wait until the public hearing, okay? So I will offer up for public comment. I'll open that up, and I see Mr. Glenn Spieth has signed up for that. You wish to go ahead, come up, state your name and the city you reside in, please.
Glenn Spieth, lived in Lakewood since '63. What I want to talk about in the public comment area is DeLong's Drive-In becoming a 7-Eleven gas station convenience store. In my dealings with the city for quite a few years, something like that was a change in use from a drive-in to a gas station. And I remember, if it was a restaurant, you had to stay as a restaurant. If you had some other use, whatever you wanted to do wasn't permitted. So it doesn't make much sense to me that a drive-in is changed to a gas station, and right now there's probably 12 to 15 vacant gas station locations along Gravelly Lake and Bridgeport. That's not a change in use. You could just go right in and operate as a gas station. Of course, city's going to have a lot of new requirements, but that's still the case. I just don't see having change in use like that being viable. Never was for years. Where does it show me that in the new codes for development? I don't see it. Just because a big outfit wants to come through and make a change doesn't mean that that's always allowed, unless you got an awful lot of money behind it that says, gee, now it is allowed. Anyway, that's my public comments for the moment.
Thank you for your comments, appreciate it. So anyone else would like to speak tonight in the public comment period? Sir, go right up and state your name and the city you reside in, please.
Hi everybody, my name is Khanh Pham, and I'm the owner of the property 5485 on the Steilacoom Boulevard. And last week I received a letter from Mrs. Spear, notice for me intentional proposal to change this side of the street from neighborhood commercial to the high density residential. So I'm talking about the side of the street, on my side of the street. So the whole block, this neighborhood commercial. So the nature of the neighborhood commercial, this light duty business. So it's not very heavy traffic or anything. So from changing just from the 5503 to 5495 Steilacoom Boulevard, actually only half of the block or one third of the block changing from neighborhood commercial to the high density zone residential. So to me, this is a main street, and enter from the freeway, go to the Lakewood. So residential is supposed to be on the side of the street, because when you create the residential high density, maybe apartment or condo, so a lot of the traffic will be exit and enter. So will be, I think will be a lot of traffic, got a problem on that side of the street. And also not unique, because neighborhood commercial, I think, create, friendly and historic of the Lakewood. So to me, I oppose the, proposal to change the zone. So only, actually, these are a lot, the lot in here, but actually only one third of the street that's blocked to become high density, so become so mixing. And also I'm concerned about the traffic. So please, Commissioner, or the Commission planning, take the consideration. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much for your comments.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak on public comment at this time? Anyone else? Hearing or seeing no one raise their hand or coming forth, we'll close the public comment at this time. Thank you. Is there any unfinished business? It looks like we have none at this time. We move to number 7, public hearing, and first we'll hear from Ms. Tiffany.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tiffany Spear on behalf of the Planning Department. So tonight, you do have a public hearing on the proposed docket for 2020 Comprehensive Plan policy amendments and zoning map amendments. And I will just make a comment that the public testimony that you just heard was in reference to application 2020-05. And so I received information from the testimony, who just provided the testimony, the other day. So if we could just include that in the official record, that would be great. Thank you. So within your packet, Commissioners, starting on page 5, you'll see a summary again of all of the various applications. There are a total of 13 which are under consideration during this cycle, and they range from city-initiated text and policy amendments, one privately initiated rezone, and then a number of city-initiated rezone and redesignations. The exceptions to the recommendations coming from the Community and Economic Development Department you see on the screen right now, all of them are recommended for approval as submitted except for 2020-02, which is the rezone that is requested from a private party. And the idea there was not to deny it, but to instead recommend a different zone and within high density, and the result being getting to where they wanted to be with the project in any event, but keeping it more consistent with the zoning around the parcel in question. 2020-06 is the large application, which was actually also 2019-06, last cycle, also dealing with the Springbrook neighborhood. And if you remember the discussion at our study session a month ago or 2 weeks ago, and then last year's comprehensive plan cycle, this is an area of the city where the Public Works Department has gone to FEMA and asked that the floodplains and floodways be remapped in order to make sure it's accurate. And the results have come in preliminarily, but the final results aren't here yet. And so the recommendation from staff is to, once again, postpone this until all of that process is completely done, the FEMA maps are updated, and then that can move forward as part of next year's process. 2020-07 is related to the same issue. It is actually, it started out as a separate amendment this time around, but it is in fact one of the Springbrook parcels. It's adjacent to what you saw in 2020-06. And so the recommendation there is to simply combine 06 and 07 and move those forward to next year's cycle. The schedule that we're at, last month, February 19th, there was a study session where each one of these applications was discussed with the commission. Tonight you have your public hearing. You have scheduled for March 18th, so 2 weeks from tonight, a discussion about what you heard tonight out of public hearing, as well as any other questions or proposed amendments you as the commission might want to make. And then on April 1st is the tentative schedule for you to take action and send the package along with or without amendment to the council. The City Council will hold a study session on April 27th, and then moving forward through its own process, there will be action at this point scheduled on June 1st. But right before that, the week prior, is the joint City Council and Planning Commission meeting. So that's May 26th. So if there's a need, a desire to talk about these as part of that joint study session, you'll have that opportunity. So I mentioned public comment just a moment ago. What I have received at the office is related to amendment number 2004. I apologize, the numbers are wrong. 2020-04, which relates to 111th and Bridgepoint Way West. Alex Harmon of Harmon Construction submitted comments on support of the amendment on behalf of the property owners. And then Mr. Pham, that you just heard from, is in opposition to 2020-05. And so you may hear about these same amendments or others tonight in the public hearing. Other than that, I'm here to answer any questions for you.
Any questions for Mrs. Spear? Nothing? Nope.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing of the 2020 Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Map Amendments. I have some people that have signed up. I'll call them first. If you could, oh, Mr. Guerrero.
Thank you. I'm the architect for 2020-02, so I want to recuse myself from the dais at this time.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Guerrero. Okay, so again, I have some people that have signed up, and so I'll call them first, and then anyone else wishing to speak, I'll ask, and you can come up to the podium up there and state your name and the city you reside in. If you could, hold your comments to 3 minutes to respect the other individuals that might want to talk. If you're representing a group or a group of individuals, we can give you a little bit more time as well, up to maximum 10 minutes. So individually, coming up, if you just try to respect the others and hold your comments to 3 minutes, we appreciate it. So opening up the public hearing, and I'll call the first name. Mr. Glenn, it pays to be early, you're always first, so go right ahead, sir.
Glenn Spaeth, Lakewood. I've lived on Steilacoom Boulevard since 1977, operated a business there since 77, operated another business or a continuation of the business since 68. So I've been in business in Lakewood since 68. What I want to talk about is 2020-05. My area, right around Steilacoom Boulevard and Bridgeport, if you make a circle 3 or 4 blocks around that intersection, there's already probably 3,000 or more apartments. And the stuff that goes on around those apartments is not like having a single-family residence where somebody owns the property and takes care of it. The people that live in the apartments that are surrounding there leave so much garbage at the parks, blowing onto the properties, coming off the street onto private residence property. It's just kind of ridiculous to have the whole city become apartments. The reason we became a city, as I remember, my reason at the time was the county was putting apartment houses willy-nilly all throughout the city. They put them in Oak Brook, they put them all over. We became a city, and hopefully that was gonna stop. Didn't seem to do that because now the state seems to require everybody to have all these damn apartments. And all they're doing is degrading the city by that situation. Can't see my notes, but I'm trying. What I think, you ought to start with the town center. City apparently doesn't want any apartments in the town center because that never seems to be an option nowadays. It doesn't seem like it's coming. But if you like apartments, put them in the town center. I think there's a number of places in the city where you could go 16 stories or taller with apartments and condos and stuff. You have to get up 9, 10 stories before you even have a view. Any place in Lakewood. For years, I thought one of the best places for view was at each end of Union Avenue in Tillicum. If you had a 16-story apartment, and of course that's nowhere near what the minimum flying area is for Gray Field for helicopters, because that's at 500 feet. 16 stories is 160 feet. You'd have a view of Fort Lewis, McCord, the mountain. You look in the other direction, you'd have the Olympics, American Lake. You could probably even see the other lakes from that vantage point. Living up on the top, I consider that to be one of the premium retirement places that I could think of, where you could just sit there and look out your window and see the happenings in the world. But apparently we don't want to go any more than about 4 stories. Trouble with most of the apartments that are going in now and have gone in, they're 3 and 4 stories. They're wood frame construction. You get a fire on the first floor, it goes right on up through the roof. You get a fire on the top floor and it seems to go down to the basement or down to the bottom floor. Those wood frame apartments just burn like hell, and it doesn't seem to matter that they have a requirement for sprinklers or not. They still burn. 16-story building probably would have sprinklers, but for the most part, they're not that flammable except for the contents. So those are my points.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Glenn. Next, Mr. Pham, you want to speak again? Okay, no problem. Yep, absolutely. Mr. George, Steve George? You want to speak? I have more questions than speaking. You can ask, and the staff later on can answer those for you, but you're more than welcome to address your comments.
Steve George, Lakewood. I own Ray's Auto Center, puts me kind of right in the middle of the 2020-05, so on Stilichum Boulevard. We've been there 35 years. I guess my question is, if the change is made, because right now we're zoned residential business, and that's how and that's basically how we operate. If it gets changed to multifamily, I assume that we're grandfathered in. Is that correct? I mean, a zoning change wouldn't mean come in and tell me to move?
Go ahead, Mr. Buer.
My name's Dave Buer. In the event that there was an amendment to a straight residential zone, the existing business would remain in non-conforming, would become a legal non-conforming use.
Okay. And where does that leave if I sold the property, then what happens?
It remains a legal non-conforming use.
Okay.
The sale
So
of,
somebody else could operate the business as I operate it from the same location
Yes.
if I sold it?
yes,
It wouldn't have to then convert to multifamily?
that's correct. And you would be allowed to make minor alterations, but no expansions.
Okay. Okay. Well, those are my questions, so. That's it?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Uh-oh. Ooh, man, this. Nancy, what, hard to,
Bjorgen?
go ahead, come on up to the podium if you would. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Brown. I live in Lakewood. I own the piece of residential property that's directly across from the old Lakewood plumbing site. And I'm that property since 1976. Our family has owned the property that runs the property line that separates us from the large Swan property there on the corner. Is this zoning change being requested because they want to put multiple family housing there, multiple story? Can you answer that, or is it just being done with the anticipation of changes coming in the future?
Mr. Staffel.
Okay.
Let me answer the first question, the second question first. Is it anticipated that changes are coming in the future? Yes. There is a high demand for additional housing in Pierce County. The last time that I looked at the numbers, Pierce County was short 5,000 residential units. In addition, we're beginning to see the Washington legislature require cities to propose higher density developments, as well as different types of zoning to allow for higher density. Currently, the last time I checked, the vacancy rate for rental units in Lakewood, whether it's single family or multifamily, is probably around 3%. The other issue that was how this came about is the city staff went before the city council and reviewed with them some possible zone changes, and they adopted a resolution of intent to amend the zoning, in part with some discussion that some parts of Lakewood have not changed very much since incorporation. There hasn't been much area of change in certain areas, and so some of the suggestions were maybe a change in zoning would maybe spark some level of residential development. In addition, there is some concern that the city has too much commercial development in the city, too much strip commercial. That's been an ongoing topic since incorporation. So those are the reasons why this came about. Whether or not the city council approves those changes, whether or not this board recommends those changes, has yet to be made.
This is a crazy question, but I believe part of the reason why that property hasn't been developed is all of the oak trees on it. And so, but I know several years ago there was a proposal to put up a large memory care facility there, but it was going to be multiple story, and that was about 2008 when the economy wasn't, the whole financial debacle came about. So it looks to me like the apartments are coming. And I see that as, I've got a neat little niche there where I'm not on a dead end, but it's, for all practical purposes, it works that way. Because I face Steilacoom Boulevard, the street, the way it's designed, it does not have a turn lane on Fairlawn Drive, so it's dangerous to turn in there. But that's a little niche residential neighborhood that has had single-family homes, and I think it's about to change. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it. So seeing no other individuals sign up, I will ask at this time if there's any other individuals that would like to speak at this time. You're more than welcome to come on up to the podium and speak to the fellow commissioners that are up here. Right ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tim Pavolka. I live in Tacoma. Don't hold that against me. I grew up in Lakewood. That's just the way life goes. I'm here regarding what was 2019. What is it? 2019-06, and now it's 2020-06, and it's going to become 2021-06. The Springbrook neighborhood is an area. I'm also a commercial real estate broker, and all of Pierce County is in a growth mode, and you need a combination of the housing and you need a combination of the commercial. What I think any place needs is job creation, and that helps fill those apartments. It fills the stores, it fills the drive-ins, it fills the dry cleaners, it fills everything. So, if we can attract them to Lakewood, and there's room here, in that Springbrook neighborhood, that neighborhood is screaming for redevelopment. The parcel that we own as Oak Street LLC is currently zoned multifamily, but our neighbor to the north is a giant substation that feeds Joint Base Lewis and McChord. Our neighbor to the west, to the east, is Joint Base Lewis and McChord. It would seem to me that it is a prime place for commercial property. That being said, Lakewood just cut in a big road into that area that is designed for truck traffic to get it off of the Bridgeport exit, off of I-5 into that neighborhood. There's been a variety of apartments built in recent years in that area. The question here is over the FEMA floodplain, and FEMA came back and said that that thing was in the floodplain. During that time, I'd just like to publicly offer our services to Mr. Bugler and the planning department to assist in anything we can do. We have 5 acres there. We just are finishing a topographical survey of the entire thing. At one time, I truly believe that it did flood. Since in the recent history, Pierce County built Brookdale Retainage Pond, and a lot of the waters that were in the Canyon Road area and in Brookdale now go to this retainage pond. It used to all go to Clover Creek. It doesn't go to Clover Creek anymore. So we have retained a hydrologist that has been out there, looked at the thing, and he's got this stuff documented of how this water is not going into Clover Creek anymore. Last month, whatever it was, we had that frog strangler deal. I was there that day. I mean, we were 4 feet below the grade. Our property was completely dry, and that every place else on the news was flooding. So I just would like to offer our services. If our topography survey would help in that process or whatever else, I'll work with the planning department directly on that, and I think we can get that through. I think that that neighborhood is screaming for a combination of housing and commercial, and because of its access to I-5, because of its access to a variety of things, including the transit there. And we just like to be able to help whatever way we can on that.
Good, thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak tonight before the commissioners? Yeah, go right ahead, sir. Ma'am, you'll right after him then. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Don Tyler. I have Lakewood Hardware and Paint. And I have a concern with traffic building up in the area. For me, I'm not so much concerned whether there's apartments in there or commercial buildings, but ever since they put the Four Heroes in, it's been a highly congested area. As they've added apartments, it's become more congested. And going forward, I would be concerned if they redevelop that little Steilacoom Boulevard corridor with multi-unit apartments, more of them, that you're going to have close to gridlock right in there. So I just think that should at least be considered in the equation.
Great, no problem.
Yeah, at 3 or 4 o'clock with the buses going, the school going, Steilacoom Boulevard going as the main thoroughfare to go down to Steilacoom. If you drive over there or visit that at the peak times, it's really, really congested. Great. So I know Ray's would probably be able to, yeah, mention that too, that I'm sure in front of your place, people have a hard time just getting in and out of there. So, as they do with us.
Yep, great, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it, thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Actually, it's just a question is all I had. So
problem. Say name.
Jackie Wilson, I live in Lakewood, and I'm questioning about 2019-05. So what does the rezoning do to property taxes on single residential? Does that make them like go way up? Because I've read online, sometimes they go down. What are my taxes going to do? Because I just took a big jump already for Clover Park this year, and I don't want to take another big jump anytime in the near future.
The city of Lakewood has nothing to do with how property is taxed in the city of Lakewood. That is done through an appraisal process. with
Pierce County?
Pierce County assessor. And then various taxing agencies put a percentage to the amount that gets taxed.
Gotcha.
And that gets added up, and that's how the tax bill is generated.
Okay.
Property taxes have gone up the last year as a result of increases in property valuations, because more people seem to be wanting to move to Pierce County into Lakewood.
Gotcha. Okay.
For example, we're looking at housing valuations to rise probably 6 to 7% on sales for 2020. We're anticipating by the end of 2020, single-family home could go for as much as $350,000 to $380,000.
Great.
Where before they were under $300,000, and that's what's driving up your property taxes.
Great. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
No problem, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak tonight before the commissioners on the comp plan amendments before us? Hearing none. No other individuals? Okay. Before I close the public hearing, I just want to ask the fellow commissioners if you feel comfortable of closing the public hearing at this time? If you, everyone's good? Fine. Okay. So I'll give you one last time. Anyone else wishing to speak before us on, hey, there you go. We know, third time's a charm, asking all the time.
I'm Cam Carter. I reside in University Place. I just bought that Lakewood plumbing site. So my question would be, going from NC2 to MF1 with a lesser density for dwelling units there, would it still be feasible for me to apply for a permit for a mixed-use building going in? So if I'm operating construction services out of that in the future. I'd like to build residential there as well. I would prefer it to be mixed use. Now, is that going to pose an issue for me in the future?
The current zoning is what?
NC2.
NC2, which is a mixed-use zone. If the zoning is changed to MF1, mixed-use development is not allowed.
Correct. So I would, yeah, I guess, I don't know who else is speaking about that, but it would be great to have, services provided for have employers there as well as mixed-use zoning for residential, kind of bringing both breeds in there. So, lessening the density there, going to MF1. Yeah, I was just kind of reading up that on my phone as I was listening to some of these folks talk, but looks like, bringing less. When is this supposed to pass? Or
So what will happen is on the agenda and the dates, the commissioners here will have a discussion, and then we talk about it, and then we make recommendations to the council. As Ms. Spears mentioned, it will be at further dates. There will be another planning session with the council, and then there'll be a public hearing. So it's, several months away before this thing would ever pass or fail or whatever. All as one or individually, so you have a lot of time and a lot of time to have other comments and discussions.
Okay.
If this were to go forward with no changes, at this point, it's tentatively scheduled to go into effect. It would be July 1st of this year. But there are, as the chair just said, there's numerous options and steps between now and that time. So there's an opportunity to provide comment at the city council on May 18th, and then between now and June 1st is when they would potentially be taking action. Then there's a month where then it goes into effect. So if they take action on June 1st, July 1 would be when it would go into effect.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, hearing or seeing no one else at this time, we'll close the public hearing on the 2020 comp plan amendments and zoning map changes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for everyone coming. We do have some more things on our agenda tonight. You're more than welcome to stay, or Mr. Guerrero, welcome back to the days. Under new business, we have some ratification of 2020 proposed amendments to the countywide planning policies we're going to be discussing. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tiffany Spear one more time. And we're going to be talking about both what's happening with some changes to county-level planning documents and policies that the City of Lakewood has to comply with, but then also the existing centers that have been designated within the City of Lakewood, either by the city or by the County Council or ultimately by the Puget Sound Regional Council. So some of you have seen this graphic before, but if you start at the state level, you've got the Growth Management Act. That is a state statute, that's law. Then you have what are called multi-county planning policies. And right now that's being updated from what's called Vision 2040 to Vision 2050. And it's anticipated Vision 2050 will be adopted in May of this year. That's going to be, it's a once every 10-year update to those regulations or policies that kind of add another layer on Pierce, King, Snohomish, and Kitsap counties. So that's going to be changing this summer. Where we're spending some time tonight is with the countywide planning policies. So once the multi-county policies are updated, the countywide ones that are specific to Pierce County are amended in order to be consistent with that. They're not verbatim, they are their own, each county within the region, for instance, has their own countywide policies, but they're all consistent with that next layer above. And then out of the countywide planning policies, or the CPPs, are city comprehensive plans and then the development regulations that implement the plan policies. So in March of 18, the Puget Sound Regional Council, or PSRC, adopted a new centers framework that established eligibility and criteria for what are called regional centers. And cities must adhere to those new criteria and eligibility items as adopted by PSRC for any new regional centers that are designated. What's happening right now and why this is in front of you as an informational topic is these planning policies are going to be in front of the City Council this spring in order to either ratify them as they are or oppose them as they are. There's no opportunity for the city to amend. They can just say yes or no. But the idea tonight is to let you know this is happening because it may ultimately affect some of the policies that you look at during comprehensive plan cycles. So there are three types of centers. You see in that graphic there, regional, countywide, and centers of local importance. These are the new descriptions coming out of these policies that the City Council is going to be ratifying here in a couple of weeks. Regional centers are the ones that the PSRC has to designate and approve, and then the PCRC, Pierce County Regional Council, amends the countywide planning policies. So Puget Sound Regional Council, again, it's those 4 counties, and they've got their governing body that's elected officials from all 4 counties representative. Pierce County Regional Council, same idea, but just the cities in the county within Pierce County deals with those policies. And then the City of Lakewood itself has the authority to create, again, centers of local importance. And those are incorporated into the countywide information by PCRC once they're brought up from a city. Regional growth centers, there's actually one in Lakewood already, and it used to be a different footprint, but now with the adoption of the Downtown Sub-Area Plan, the Regional Growth Center is now coterminous with, it's the same boundaries as the Lakewood Downtown Plan. This are areas where more compact, pedestrian-oriented development with housing, jobs, retail service, and other destinations are intended. It's also intended to be high employment and then also non-motorized as well as motorized transportation within the areas. So what you see there below are the list of the recognized regional growth centers within Pierce County as a whole. The Central Business District for Tacoma, the Tacoma Mall, and then Lakewood's downtown area, Puyallup has 2, and then the city of University Place has 1. This is a map that shows you where those various centers are. Lakewoods, as you see with the red arrow, is right there where we're sitting actually. It's the downtown area. This map is being used for a couple of different reasons, but this, first of all, just encapsulates all of the various centers that have been designated either by a city, by the countywide PCRC, or by the Puget Sound Regional Council. And then there's also the fact that this is the map that's going to be used this time around. Every year, there is a decision made on transportation dollars and where those monies from the federal government are going to go. Puget Sound Regional Council is the body that decides how much money goes to various projects of a certain kind. I know this is very, and then the Pierce County Regional Council also takes a look at the countywide projects as well. The manufacturing and industrial centers, it's the same general idea, meaning it is a specified subarea of a city or a county where manufacturing and industrial uses, just like the name says, would be located. So employee or land-intensive uses. They differ from the growth centers because it's not really for people, for homes, it is for jobs and industrial uses. What we have here is a list of 4 that have been identified in the current countywide planning policies. So out in Frederickson, the Port of Tacoma, Sumner Pacific area, and then the South Tacoma one is pending. It'll probably be approved in the next cycle that the Puget Sound Regional Council does. This is a map of the east side of the city of Lakewood, and you see the circle there that I threw on, and the point was to draw your attention to the areas in light and mid-gray. Those are all industrial areas already zoned, so in the city of Lakewood. And right now, you have a center for local importance in part of that area for the Clover Park Technical College and the Lakewood Industrial Park. And so that's already been designated by the city. But there is a potential, and it's very, very preliminary at this point. This has been only a preliminary internal discussion by staff. It hasn't been brought to the council. It hasn't been directed by the council. It's just a what if. But that area of the city potentially could be redesignated or designated as a countywide industrial center or a regional manufacturing industrial center. And what that would do is open up additional opportunities for transportation funding coming to the city of Lakewood, in particular for that area, for projects within that area to improve freight transport and other types of transportation mobility within that area. These are the centers of local importance that the city of Lakewood has already got incorporated into its comprehensive plan. And they're of different types. So what I've done is listed the name and then why they were identified within the comprehensive plan. You'll see in Tillicum, it was a unique identity, walkable, compact, kind of self-contained. Fort Steilacoom, its resources of local and statewide importance. Custer Road and Walmart has become a significant urban node for the city. And then you'll see again that Clover Park, Lakewood Industrial Park area, which is number 4, that yellow, being part of what I was showing in this map as a potential countywide or regional manufacturing center, should that ever come to be. South Tacoma Way with the commercial significance along that corridor, that's that brown one, number 5. Springbrook, which I guess is forever going to be associated with number 6, because there it is as number 6. It is identified in the comprehensive plan. This is kind of interesting given the discussion that's ongoing right now, as a compact, high-density residential area. So as the city council ultimately is taking a look at, are they going to be rezoning some or all of Springbrook based on the floodplain results, is this policy going to need to change, be updated? Because it's been in the comprehensive plan for a while. This map is from 2014, but they'll just need to be deciding policy level things as well as the zoning for that area of the city. Woodbrook is identified as an important industrial node. And then Lake City West, which is that light orange one, number 8, is a traffic corridor on and off Northgate for JBLM. And so there's all types of uses right there and then right inside the base at that point. So again, what we're doing right now is talking about the potential for Lakewood to look at recreating or creating a countywide or regional manufacturing industrial center within the next few years, if there's a desire by the council to consider that. And the point being that once you have a center designated, just like we have here in the downtown already as a growth center, that opens up some opportunity for additional regional funding. The countywide center policies that are going forward for ratification to the council in a couple of weeks is going to be updating by default how the city would create its own centers going forward and how it would apply to get regional centers designated. So the policies are getting updated in essence. And then in 2023, there's going to be the statutory requirement. Every 8 years, all jurisdictions have to take their comprehensive plans from page 1 to page end and re-examine the entire thing, see if it's up to snuff, and if not, what needs to change. That's a much more rigorous process than the annual cycle that we're in the middle of right now. The next time that has to happen, as I said, is 2023. But as part of that, the city will be looking at the changes to Vision 2050, the regional planning policies, the countywide planning policy updates, and then if there's anything that the city itself feels need to change within its own document. So that was a lot of talking very fast, and it was weird, wonky policy stuff, I know. Any questions? Anything you guys want to talk about some more about with that?
I appreciate the information.
All right.
And I'm sure we'll be looking forward to some updates as we go on.
Yeah, as this comes forward, I'll bring your attention back to the fact that what happened was we talked about centers in Etherland and on paper, and now here comes an actual opportunity to rezone as it comes forward to you over time.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Number 9 is at this time our council liaison. Paul, if you have some comments for us tonight, we appreciate it. Ms. Tiffany. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul Boki, council liaison. Nothing really much to say. We are going to have our annual retreat on Saturday. I think they're going to be in these chambers. Originally, we got something that said the police station, but I think it's here. So 8:30 to 12:30, I believe. So we'll see what comes of that. And I just want to thank you. I think it went pretty well tonight. I'm glad we got some folks to show up and make the comments. Those are very important to the process. So keep up the good work. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, appreciate it. From staff, we have any reports or?
I would put this in the category of other, just letting you know, but we have received the Western State Hospital Master Plan. And so we will be going through a master plan amendment. It's a significant change in current operations. About, I would say, half the buildings will be torn down and replaced with new buildings, and the other half of the buildings will be significantly remodeled. So there's also different types of uses being proposed as well. So stay tuned. This will definitely be a topic within the greater Lakewood community this year.
Specifically to Oak Brook area?
Definitely Oak Brook. As you recall, one of the things that we did last year was take a piece of the property that was owned public institutional, which could have been used for the expansion, and zoned it open space. So that had the impact of having them concentrate any future development in a specific area and stay out of basically critical areas that are in that location. So I think that was a good thing, and there was no objection from DSHS or the state of Washington, so we continue to move forward, and this will end up as a public hearing and a trip before the hearing examiner.
Good.
So there's a lot of process. We're still looking at the environmental review issues, significant changes in traffic movements and the like. More to follow, but I thought this would be an issue or something that you would want to be aware of.
Great. Anything else, reports?
Just as been said before, on March 18th, you'll be discussing the information you received tonight from public testimony. I'm not sure at this point, but staff will go back, and if there's any recommended changes based on the testimony or anything else we get from staff, for instance, if the FEMA flood mapping stuff suddenly pops, we would bring that back to you, and then you decide on the 18th if you're going to be making any amendments that night or talking about it, and then moving forward to action on the 1st of April.
Great, thank you. Any comments from fellow commissioners? Any reports? Hearing none, I will mention I talked to Commissioner Weber, And he plans or thinks that he might return possibly in April. That's not confirmed, but if it changes anytime between the rest of March, we'll have a discussion possibly about him resigning from the commissioners, if it's going to be any more time length that he might be away. So his health is still pretty good, but he just can't be out too much in the public and be susceptible to with his medical. So I did have a conversation with them, and so we'll kind of wait for a couple more weeks and see what how his health is doing. So for everyone, update. Anything else? Hearing or seeing none, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you. See, look at there. Jesus Christ, look at there. Slam dunk. Let's go. Slam dunk. Yeah.